Science fiction, fantasy. It's sort of science fantasy. I have an epic series called Shiva 14,
Uh-huh.
and I do write uh I guess some speculative fiction, but it's that one is mostly science fantasy, and I do plan on writing another fantasy series very soon. I also have other stuff. I like to cross genres, so I have a biblical fiction and I have a romance that I just came out with. So it's all over the place, and
Okay.
poetry.
So there is a religious bent to your fiction on Amazon?
No, I just have no. I just have one particular. It's kind of a novella called The Rainbow Serpent, and that one is is sort of a
Great
very
title.
loose retelling. Thank you, a loose retelling of the Garden of Eden. It's told from the snake's point of view.
That's interesting,
So
actually. I mean, why
yeah,
not?
it's very different. It's very different than it's not really religious at all. It's more spiritual.
What did the snake get out of them eating an apple off the tree?
Well,
Or is that a spoiler?
it is a big spoiler actually, but to me, the apple, and I think to many scholars and people around the world have taken it as knowledge, right? It's about knowledge, and the knowledge of the apple being symbolic of what we learn about life and experience and everything that happens to us to give us pain, to give us pleasure, and we are no longer ignorant, we are no longer naive, but does that make it good or bad? And it touches on all that stuff.
I would agree. I mean, I definitely think that the apple is adventure, right? Life,
Sure.
taking it and taking a bite out of it, not knowing
Right.
exactly what it is, what's going to taste like, what's it going to do to you. I mean,
Right.
that's basically what man has done to achieve what we've done with our existence. This, what, 300,000 years or something, one bite at a
Hmm.
time. He didn't die. We can eat this stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's
Well,
ignorance,
we
right?
did.
It's pulling those curtains back on ignorance.
Right.
It's really awesome.
Right. And of course, there's a sexual overtone to that as well. And when sex being part of what wakes us up and grow and evolve as well. And yeah, so it's from the serpent's point of view, and he's very different than what the typical Bible version of it is.
What book is this? What's the title?
That's the rainbow serpent.
Rainbow Serpent. That's awesome. What
Thank
is
you.
the artist?
Oh, the artist. Okay. That is a book I actually have been trying to write. Wait, I just finished it for like 7 years.
One thing
It
I've
took me a
noticed,
long
like
time to.
right off the bat, is you have an amazing ability with titles. Like I'm already hooked on the artist. I mean,
Thank
the
you.
cover's really nice too.
Thank you. Yeah, the artist is very different from anything I've done before. I don't really write romance per se,
Mm,
but it's actually not your typical romance. It's hard to explain this one. It's about an artist, and it kind of deals with whether you have to actually be kind of crazy to be an artist or not. It is a romance in his relationships. It's about his relationships, but it's also just about his trauma and the things he's gone through. And there's moments where it just breaks into poetry and it's kind of just all over the place. And I had a really good time writing it, but it took a long time to finish because in the middle of it, I was actually trying to do my Shiva epic. So I was actually finishing that while I had already started the artist. So I had to sort of stop that for a while and, switch gears.
So you're hardcore writing all the time. I mean, it sounds like,
Uh,
what am I looking at
I
here? Six
try. I mean,
books or
I'm
more?
actually,
Seven, eight, not
yeah,
wow, it keeps going.
I
It doesn't
yeah.
stop.
There are
Wow,
people that
okay.
write more than me. Oh my God. I mean, there's people that's got like 20 books out there, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get there. Um, but yeah, I have my Shiva 14 series, which took, that was the most work, honestly, because that's an epic, huge story. Um, I have the artist, I have the Rainbow Serpent, I have poetry compilation. I have some anthologies that I've been in. There's quite a bit. I think I'm
That's
doing pretty
cool.
good.
So you do the short fiction thing too, huh?
Yeah, that was actually a challenge for me because my brain tends to think in epic and really taking a while to really get it all together and what I'm trying to say. And, I'm kind of long-winded by nature,
Hmm.
not as bad as Tolkien. but but for me, it was always a challenge to do a short story. I didn't think I could do it. And then I was offered to do an anthology, and I thought, well, I'll just try. It was for the Sci-Fi Roundtable group on Facebook, and
Oh yeah, are you a part of them? Is
yeah,
that where I know you
I
from? Is that
am.
where? Oh,
I'm a
great.
knight. Yes, I'm
I'm in
one of the
that
knights.
group.
Yes,
I
awesome.
am horrible at Facebook though, so I haven't really been back. But there were some prompts on there and stuff like that I really enjoyed doing. They don't do
Right.
them
Well,
very often
I
though.
Yeah, they're always doing something, and I'm sure they're going to do another anthology as well. But I was part of their first one, and that was great. It was the first one I did, and I had been dabbling in short stories before that, but very kind of nervously. But it's a challenge for me, and I actually started to
Yeah,
really enjoy it. And then I did another anthology with two short stories for it. It's one with my fellow indie fabs. It's a writers group that I'm part of, and I love them dearly. They're very good friends of mine. And we put out an anthology called Once Upon a Fabulous Time.
you were number
And
four,
you know,
right? I've talked to
huh?
four of you guys so far. Indie
Ah, so you know
Fabs.
the Fabs well. Yeah, I know you through Elias. So, yeah. So that anthology was great, great fun, and that was all about fairy tales and doing like unique spins on fairy tales. And so I've definitely gotten more comfortable with short stories now
That's
after a
awesome.
while.
Yeah, I love short fiction. I think it's a magnificent medium to tell stories in. I like to look at things in like small vignettes, and I love the ceiling of a word count, something to aim for, and then you can't go beyond it. Trim things, get them
That
all.
frightens me.
Really? The word count those?
See, I guess, yeah. I feel like I get in a enclosed tight spot. It's like deadlines. If I
Mm,
can't be wordy, I get nervous.
I love it. I mean, I'm working right
Yeah.
now. I want to write a novella by July
Hmm.
for a tour open call, basically.
Ooh.
Uh,
Ooh.
I mean, it's just like an experiment to see if I can accomplish that storytelling within that amount of time in that number of words.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
thrilling.
it's a challenge. Yeah. It's just I'm one of those people that get very high strung. So yeah, I like when I have time, but it is a challenge, and sometimes that challenge really makes you do more than you thought you could, and it's surprising in a good way.
Are you writing full time, or do you balance this with a full-time job?
I was doing a full-time job, but that job sunk. So now I'm full-time, which is awesome. I finally
Oh,
get to
that's
finish a
awesome.
lot of things I've been doing, and I'm starting a new series soon. So I'm taking a bit of a break though for right now because at least a month or two. Like after I finish a book, my brain gets mushy.
Shiva is 14 chapters, right? Or what is
Don't
that
no
portions?
no. It's 4 books.
Oh, it's 14. Shiva
It's
14 is the
it's
title.
actually, yeah, Shiva the 14th.
Okay.
That's actually his title. It's about a boy named Ein who is the messiah of his galaxy, well, his planet. But he is kind of told by the priests who raise him that he has to save his whole universe basically from the impending doom and disease and war and everything that they know is coming. And he really is raised sheltered. He's kind of a reluctant hero, a reluctant messiah, and then something happens to kind of completely destroy this prophecy, and he has to survive and figure out what he really is and find a way to actually become sort of his own hero. And it takes him on a journey, and it's 4 books altogether, and there's lots of kind of fantasy elements as well. So it's kind of science fantasy.
My next question for you was going to be, what brought you to science fiction? And then I remembered I didn't wish you a May 4th.
I know. It's happy Star Wars Day.
Yeah, happy Star Wars
Yeah.
Day. Me too. I mean, what did bring you to science fiction? Was it Star Wars originally, or did something else hook you?
Probably. I mean, I was like 5, I think, when Star Wars came out. And, I have a vivid memory of that being like, I think it was the first movie theater I ever went to. And I remember being like in this line that went way around the block. And I think it was in Seattle, if I remember. And and yeah, when I first saw it, it had a huge impact on me and so many people my age. And it just stuck in me.
You know you're
Um,
a geek when you hear somebody tell a story about when they saw Star Wars
Uh-huh.
1977 for the first time, and you get a
Uh-huh.
little jealous. Like, oh, I remember
Ah!
Empire Strikes Back. I was a kid.
Oh
I
my
got a
God. So
toy.
I'm
I
older than
don't
you.
remember
There
the
it is.
movie.
Okay.
I remember a toy. But man, what an experience! So you got to see the movie in
Yeah.
1977 when it opened. That's so
Of course I
awesome.
was 5, but I do remember being like, whoa, just
But you
from
remember that,
seeing the
and
first
no,
title.
yeah,
Yes, I do.
it made an impact, right? I mean, it's
Huge,
lasted.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, that's the thing. It's not just lightsabers and whatnot. For me, it was all about the Force. It was just this kind of this amazing sort of cross between spirituality and magic and sci-fi and the romance, of course. But it just was so. I mean, I wanted to be Luke, really.
there's nothing wrong with
So yeah, it was just such a huge impact. So definitely must have started it. I didn't read a huge amount of sci-fi in my life, to be honest.
that.
I
What's
mean, I
your
started doing.
go-to? Like, what's your candy when it
Uh,
comes to literature?
to be honest, I mean, I've read different things, but the author that probably made the hugest impact on me was Herman Hesse, which is not sci-fi. But his books are like Siddhartha and Steppenwolf and Narcissus and Goldman, and these are very kind of intellectual East meets West. The, you know, just thinking about what makes us human, and sort of very thinky books. But I love them, and it's funny. I wasn't really much of a reader as a kid. The thing that first really woke me up was reading Siddhartha. I think I was about 13, and that really got me started and got me really into those books. And then I've read different great books throughout the years, but it really wasn't so much sci-fi. It was a lot of I love the Jean Emule books. I love obviously Tolkien. I got to that eventually.
Mm.
And different kinds of books. But yeah, sci-fi. I mean, I tried Dune. I loved the movie, believe it or not, uh, when I was a teenager. And I tried Dune, and
Well, I had a
and
lot of
and I.
conversations actually with people about bad movies when you were a kid. You're not
Mhm.
supposed to like Dune, but at the same time, it just tickled you at the right time and hung on.
I loved Kyle MacLachlan, and I thought his performance was great. And there are some parts in it that are just awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
Dave Lynch is bizarre but brilliant.
I think it's really
And
well done. I mean, who did that? John Carp? No, who did that? Uh, who's the guy? David Lynch directed Dune,
David
right?
Lynch, yes, yes,
David Lynch.
yes. He was even
Crazy.
in it for like 2 seconds.
Was he?
Yeah.
But David Bowie's in it
Yeah.
too, wasn't he? No, no. Billy
No,
Idol's in it.
no, Sting in his
Sting is in
rubber
it.
undies.
I knew it was one of those three copying.
Yes, I will kill you. Yes.
Oh no, did I insult you? I'm horrible with
No,
music.
that's what he says. That's what Fade says. I will
Oh,
kill him. It's horrible, but wonderful at the same time.
so is it a
And
choice?
it kind
Is
of,
it a choice between Dune and Blade Runner and I don't know, somebody
yeah.
else said they love Flash, and these are all movies that kind of came out at the same time. Or even Ice
Flash
Pirates,
Gordon.
right? That was another one of those movies that kind of
I
came.
remember that. Yeah, that
Do
was
you?
fun.
It's
Ice
got
Pirates.
12% on
Yeah, I
Rotten
remember it
Tomatoes. I
vaguely.
looked it up the other
Well,
day.
it's one of those that are meant to be silly.
Yeah, I
It was meant
guess.
to be silly. So,
But they were trying to
what are you going to get
copy
mad at
Star Wars,
Spaceballs?
though, right? Well,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Spaceballs did
Yeah.
it on purpose. They're like, here's a
Yeah.
joke, all Star Wars stuff,
Yeah.
and enjoy.
Yeah. I
I
love
think Ice
Spaceballs.
Pirates is
Yeah.
supposed to be serious. Like they're like, this is our magnus opus science fiction story. Enjoy, and everybody's laughing at it. I love that one.
Well, I'm sure like Flash Gordon was meant to be silly too,
You
and
think
you
so?
just got to love it for what it is.
I mean,
Oh
because it
God,
was right.
yes.
Remember the movie The
Yeah.
Room? It's like it sucks, but it still has a cult following. So that guy's like, oh, that's what I meant to
Yeah.
do.
And of course it has the Queen song, and
Oh
there's
my
there's
God,
parts of
forget
it you
about it.
you
That's
just
the
got to
best
love
thing
for
about
what
it.
it is.
That's the best part about it
Yeah.
is the Queen song. And the same thing with Highlander, but
Yeah.
that movie, on the other hand, is the bomb.
Yeah. No one can dispute that either.
Yeah, right. I mean,
There
it's
can
just
only
like
be one. Yes.
can only be one, and it's the Highlander.
Yeah.
What is
I
it
mean,
about you?
all of this stuff has gotten into my head, and
Right.
all, I do love sci-fi, but I hadn't read it a lot. I've
Well,
only,
it's interesting
taken
because
it
you're
as
watching it,
films.
right? But you're reading,
Right.
you're not really
I
reading science fiction when you're younger, though. 13's young. And
mm,
Siddhartha
yeah.
sounds like a thick book. It
No,
doesn't sound
Siddhartha's
like
not that
a book.
big, but it's got heavy themes and very kind of adult concepts, and just questioning what life is and the meaning of it. And I guess I was a weird kid. That's what spoke to me.
Do you have an answer to what the meaning of life is? Or are you still grasping?
uh, After my 40 some odd years on this planet, for me, there's mostly just expression and being yourself as much as possible, and to learn from each thing that you go through, and to love as much as possible. That's it.
Yeah, I guess also add to that, don't be too concerned about the end because eventually it'll happen anyway, right? Is that all these kind of
Hmm.
spirituality conversations end in death?
Well, yeah. See, I'm somebody who actually kind of believes in reincarnation, or at least the possibility of it. So death, yeah. I just don't want to die in pain. As long as it doesn't hurt that much, then I'm okay.
It looks like
You know,
Siddhartha is
like,
it was made into an Indian movie. No,
I
I'm sorry.
read
Maybe
that.
there's a different way to
Yeah, I
say
haven't
that.
seen it though. I haven't seen it though, so I'm a little nervous what it would be like. But I'm curious too. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Lotus
that
Film.
was that
So
was. Well, I don't
Bollywood got
know.
their hands on it. Bollywood got their hands on it.
It's probably not a musical, but I do love Bollywood.
So I mean, we're talking about the meaning of life. You're writing about spirituality. Shiva sounds like a reincarnation type of. I mean, it's Hindu,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah,
Hindi.
he is. Ayn is told from the time he's a tiny little thing since childhood that he is the reincarnation of a god. So it's not actually about Shiva, the Hindu god. That's just what I used, and there are
Shiva's
similarities and probably some.
the giant one with the 8 arms.
Well, there's different depictions of him. He's actually the one that does the dance of life and death.
Mm.
But I have been influenced by learning about different types of religions and cultures and stuff, and I love myths of all kinds. So that definitely is in my brain. But yeah, it's not about the Hindu god. It's a different world altogether, a different galaxy altogether, a different everything. But there are
Would that make it
similarities.
bad if it
So.
was about the Hindu god? I
No, it
mean,
wouldn't make it
no,
bad at all. But I wanted the freedom to just do whatever I wanted to, and not have to think about, well, wait, does this is
makes
this
sense.
right? Is this the Hindu? Is this the Hindu religion? Is this correlating to that? I just wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted.
Freedom
And it's
must be
mostly
nice.
yeah, and it's mostly a story that questions a lot of different concepts. There's religion versus science, and how to balance that, and whether either is right or wrong. And there is the theme of reincarnation. There's a lot of adventure. There's a lot of different stuff that goes on. It's sort of a combination between, I'd say, Dune, Star Wars, and do you know Airbender?
I know of it. I've never seen any of it.
The Last Airbender, not the movie, but the actual
Yeah, I hear the
anime
movies
that
are
was on
very
Nickelodeon.
rude.
Yeah, it's funny. I started writing Shiva before that, but when I watched, I was like, this is actually sort of kind of similar in a way. But it's sort of all of those influences kind of all mixed together. Yeah, so
And they're
there are
meaty
some heavy.
too. She was like 450 pages, right? 500,
The
something
first
like
book I
that.
think is about 300-ish, and then they get bigger
Wow,
and bigger as they go on.
that's interesting. Are you done with the series from this point on? Are you ever going to revisit the idea of a long work of fiction like this? I mean, basically, these
Uh,
are
I
it's
actually I actually started writing sort of a prequel novel that would be about the god that he supposedly was. I don't know when and if that would ever. I don't know. I don't know when that would come out, or I'm not. It's very amorphous right now. But I probably would return to the Shiva world at some point because I loved it so much and it was a part of me. But yeah, I'm actually thinking about doing a sort of a young adult fantasy Arthurian kind of, but then sort of like modern too. Sort of a, what do you call it when it's urban fantasy? Sort of a combo of Arthurian and urban fantasy series. But that's in the beginning stages, so I've just started it.
When you sit down to
Because
write,
yeah,
do you consider
go ahead.
concepts? Do you have an idea of the elements of spirituality or technology or science that you're adding into the work?
When I first started Shiva, no, not at all. I actually had no idea I was going to write it. It was just staring at the blank screen, and I had this urge to write something. And at the time, I wasn't really writing novels. I was just writing poetry.
Uh-huh.
And I just stared, and all of a sudden, the prologue came through me, and it was about this priest holding up this infant to the stars and anointing him, and this whole big thing with like these sort of Buddhist style monks chanting. And I was like, I don't know what this is. It's just coming out of me. I
It's
almost wrote it
awesome,
the
right?
same way. Yeah, it was almost like the same way I write poetry. It's just kind of this free form flowing thing just came out of me. And then after a chapter or two, I went, where the hell is this going? What am I doing? And I really didn't know. And I had to sit down, hunker down, and kind of go, okay, what is this? And I started writing notes and bulletin style points of, okay, this is the character, this is what they are, this is the planet, this is the, and eventually it started writing itself in a way. And I went back to it, and I kept having like panic attacks through it. I really didn't know if I was A, good enough, and B, if I could pull it off, honestly. And if I had the know-how, especially when it came to like pseudoscience and whatnot. I actually have in Shiva this energy source called plasma. And I thought I was being so sci-fi about it. And then of course later, lo and behold, I read that it actually is an energy that has been experimental energy for a while now. And I was like, oh, well, but it's not the same in my books. It's actually done very differently. So I'm just pretending I'm very with it and with the with the new science in the world. But yeah, so I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning for that one. So I grew as the series progressed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely when you write, you get stronger every word that you put on paper.
Yeah.
Are you an optimist or are you a pessimist about the future?
That's a good question. I'm a
In your
realist with
fiction,
hope. I'm a
or
hopeful realist. Oh, in my fiction?
well, I mean, let's talk
Um,
about real world stuff. Definitely, you're an
uh,
optimist in terms of hope. You hope we're going to be good going forward.
Me as a person, I
As
am
a
a
writer,
hopeful realist. I mean, as a writer, you mean like, I don't like
how does
dystopia. I
the
don't like.
idea of the future impact your writing? I guess ultimately,
Hmm. I I like when things feel real. So I'm never
yeah,
going
me
to do
too.
something that's just, happy, soggy, sweetie. Saccharine stuff doesn't interest me. But at the same time, I cannot stand when everything is just negative and I'm not even a big fan of zombie stories. So for me, there always has to be kind of a whether it be bittersweet or some sort of hope at the end, something that the characters have all been through all this crap for some reason, even if it's just something they learn from it. Or I mean, I don't always write everything with a happy ending, but I do end with hope. There is
Hmm.
something there. I think otherwise, for me as a reader, not just a writer, but as a person, I don't feel like I learn much unless there's some sort of reason the characters went on that journey, or at least some kind of hope at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, it's interesting.
Otherwise it
So, I
feels
mean,
pointless.
it sounds like what you do setting out is to find a way to fix the problems. That's how you want to fix. That's how you want to end your book.
If not fix it, I mean, sometimes you can't fix whatever problems, but there has to be something that was either learned, or the characters grew from it, or they're at least able to find some way to balance or to find hope or something. Because otherwise, I feel like even though tragedy has its place, certainly with like Shakespeare, and tragedy can actually make you think and make you try to figure out what's wrong with humanity.
Yeah.
It has to feel right. It has to feel right to that story. And I'm actually someone that likes to end with some sort of glimmer, some sort of silver lining.
But you're not writing about Earth. You're making it up. You're creating everything. As you just
Hmm.
you're making it up. You're creating everything as you go along. Or are we dealing with an alternate Earth
It's
in
not
your
an
fiction?
alternate Earth, but there
It's
are
not.
there are there are there are quite a few similarities, and I think many of the reviewers have said, Shiva is a totally different world, but there's enough similarities where it feels like these are our problems here, and it could be happening right now. One of the things that's very unique and kind of timely and now, I guess, I think about Shiva is I have the main character is actually intersex, and it's one of his issues. He's kind of a transgender intersex person. So he's dealing with what he is. That's kind of a spoiler there, but hey.
Oh, was it a
So
spoiler? I
that
read that in a
well,
review.
not really, but I mean, some people said in the reviews, but yeah, he's different. He's extremely different from what his sort of, I guess, old-fashioned priests expect him to be. So there's a question of gender. There's a question of, I have LGBT characters in my book series, and there isn't a lot of that in sci-fi. There's some here and there, but not a lot. And I like to present diversity and everything I write. So there's similarities to, the modern world that we know of, whether it comes to social issues or, I have political intrigue that's in the book that there's a lot of stuff that I think that people could relate to that we're having right here on Earth now,
Hmm.
but it's whole other realm.
Yeah, I mean, you are defined by history. You're defined by the present that you're living
Absolutely.
in and your hopes and dreams of the future. And honestly, it just baffles my mind that there is even any question that we need to consider somebody's sexuality as forgivable. Shouldn't even be
Right.
anybody's business, right? I mean,
That would
asking
be
for,
good. That would be nice.
right?
Yes.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
learned
But
from the whole ordeal, like in North Carolina. When it's in the news, it's like, why is it any of my business? Just live your life, be happy, don't hurt anybody. That's basically,
yeah, humans love to judge, and they love to get in people's faces and pretend that it's their business. And
yeah.
it's so weird how we make advances, but there's so much farther to go constantly.
And it's
We're
disappointing, right? I
actually,
mean, you think you're
yeah.
doing good, and then you look down and all your tires are on fire.
God.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
But I
that's what
mean,
that smell was. I mean, you drive through the middle of
humans
this
are,
country and you see nothing but emptiness, right? I mean, it's not just its wilderness. It was at one time filled with people building families and lives for themselves who are struggling so mightily. It's like a hidden shame, basically. So many storefronts empty of businesses, and just wonder where
hmm.
people are getting the gas to put in their cars. But those are the ones that they really do want to make things a lot more simple because they feel like maybe that'll make it better or something.
uh well, simple as far as the idea of just trying to accept what you have and love life for what is. I wish people would just be grateful rather than try to go backwater and old timey and live in racist points of view and stuff, and go backwards. I
Right?
don't
I
think that's
mean,
simple to me.
ultimately
That's
controlling everything around you so that there are no surprises.
all right.
And
Well,
that's
that's
what
living
the
by fear. Yeah.
living by fear. That's why people own guns. I mean, they're worried that everything's going to
Right.
fall apart around them.
But I
They're
mean,
not hoping they're
there's
on the
always
path
going to
to
be stuff.
utopia.
There's, yeah.
They're on the path to total annihilation and the apocalypse. You know what I mean? They're going to
Yeah, which
defend
is
their
why I
family.
don't write dystopia. I feel like there's so much already in the world that is terrifying.
Mhm.
So I guess that's why I could never write end of world kind of stories. I mean, I think they have their place, but I also think they're kind of being written into the ground. There's just constant dystopia, you know. So I think that for me, I respond better to stories that show some kind of hope in what we could be and what we could do. Not preachy, because if it gets preachy, then nobody wants that. But
Well, I mean,
just
ultimately,
stories that show.
you're writing like a series of scenes, and those scenes have characters and hopefully further a plot, and that plot is within a world, and that world is based on kind of reality that you're living right now, more or less, based on fantasies of technology and whatnot. Um,
Mhm.
the point being that, I mean, it's really interesting to think that the problems that we have right now in the world will exist going into the future in some manner or another. I mean,
Yeah,
people are
it's
going
crazy
to
how much
people are going to be very thirsty in Africa,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, it's crazy how much advances we've made in technology in just the last 20 to 30 years, and yet humans are still so similar to how we were 300 years ago. It's like
No,
we're
even
so
more.
slow and
Like
yet so fast. Yeah.
300,000 years ago, what we would do is we'd burn
Right.
the grasslands, right? We would destroy everything around us, and then go out there and
Mhm.
pick all the dead things off the ground and eat them. We have a buffet of burnt food. We just ruin
In a
everything
way,
around us.
psychologically, we haven't changed much. Yeah.
We have not done that. We still burn the environment so we can have a cooked
Yeah.
potato. We don't know how to
Right.
actually harness the fire to make it,
Well, we do. We actually, scientists come up with ways, and then corporations and people who want it easy and quick and stuff, they want to make money as fast as possible. So they kind of say, no, we're not going to do that, and we could be better. We could help the environment better, but it would take effort and time and all that. And people don't want to do that. Same thing of why we can't seem to get off of, crude oils and whatnot, and why we can't get better fuel efficient cars and why they're not cheaper is because people want what they're used to and the quickest buck. So,
I mean, I don't know. They say supposedly there are hemp engines, there are water engines, there are,
water
you
engines,
know,
woo.
right? I mean, all these types of
I
engines
would
out there
totally,
that could
but I would totally do
locomote.
like an electric car if I could. That
I
would be
mean,
cool.
still, everything that surrounds that car is built on fossil fuels of some sort or another. And also, we're
Yeah,
not dealing with like ancient technology here.
yeah.
The the ancient Egyptians didn't have, cars. This is
We don't think
we don't think. We don't know how those pyramids got built. I just wrote a story about that.
aliens.
Aliens. I said dinosaurs. That was the premise of my story.
Dinosaurs. Oh my God. Wow. I'm trying to picture dinosaurs following orders and with
I
blueprints.
used
I don't know.
brontosauruses. I just figured they would be like herd animals that could be, make
Ah,
noises,
okay. Okay.
something like that.
Well, that's
Um,
cool. I mean, anything with dinosaurs is cool.
right? My
So
son would agree
Egyptians
with
and
you.
dinosaurs is extra cool. Yes.
My kid loves his T-Rexes. In fact, he calls himself Dinosaur. That's his nickname for himself.
Aw.
Yeah.
So he's
But I
Dino.
mean, where in terms of I was just thinking about this the other day. In terms of the rich people out there, there's a guy in Georgia right now running for governor. Maybe you've seen the video, did an advertisement, sitting in a room with the daughter, the boyfriend of his daughter. And he's surrounded by guns and he's cleaning the shotgun. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't. I'd probably puke.
It's horrible. It's
I
really, really
can't.
bad. But I have to
Yeah.
stop. I mean, this guy has
Yeah.
so much disposable income that he can decorate his entire study with these machines that cost
It's
hundreds of
wonderful.
hundreds of
Yeah.
dollars. I mean, what a waste. What a waste. I
Yeah.
mean, a dude
Yeah.
breaks
It
in
makes
and
them feel
murders and
powerful.
kidnaps his
Yeah.
family. What's that?
It
What'd you
just
say?
makes them feel powerful, and it's all a facade.
It's all of a
Yeah.
sudden. I mean, it really is, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the type of stuff that I think is influencing the future because those people are not going to go away. They own all the guns. I mean, you can't
Well,
get
I mean,
them to
that's the
stop.
thing, though. I don't think they're going to just go away. However, evolution does happen, and I do think that we're slowly evolving, very slowly. The people that are in power right now, and those type of people that think that way, yeah, they're there. They're very much there. But they're also kind of an older generation, older way of thinking. They're like the young kids of Parkland, and I live
Oh
right
yeah. Oh,
right
do you?
there. Really, I'm in Coral Springs. I'm like 15 minutes away from there. So that kind of was like, whoa, but yeah, those kids,
Wow,
also
15
are not
minutes.
going
That's
to go
really
away. And
close.
they're also, I'm sorry,
Uh,
what?
that's crazy. I was on my way to Amsterdam when that happened. I saw that on the news,
Wow.
kind of starting. I was like, huh,
Mm.
something's
Yeah.
happening,
I
but I'm
mean,
not going to pay attention to that. And it's like,
they're very passionate young people. And, I don't think anything's going to change overnight. But I do think that they're going to vote. And I do
man,
think
I
that
really
they're not
honestly
going
think
away.
my generation kind of was on the cusp of analog and digital. That's what they're saying now. And then the millennials
Right.
are
Yeah.
basically all
We
digital.
saw it all happen.
We saw it all. We had rotary telephones, both of us. We
Isn't
know
that
what it's like
weird?
to have
Is
to.
I mean, Yeah, my husband and I were talking about that the other day, just how weird that is. Like, we're of a generation that kind of saw everything change, and
Everything.
and it's just weird.
I was watching
Yeah.
Fargo. Are you familiar with the show?
I know the movie.
They have
No,
done
I don't
three.
watch that show.
They've done three really fantastic seasons of television. But the second season, I mean, this is just a random thing that I just noticed.
Hmm.
Husband and wife are sitting in their living room, and they have a stack of National Geographics on the coffee table. I'm like, these
Hmm.
people have to actually find the entertainment. You know what I mean? They have to get up and change the channel. They have to find the book. They
Weird.
have to keep their place in the book. I mean, they have to monitor where the book is so they can take it with them on the road. Man, when I was a kid, I'd
Yeah.
have a backpack filled with books I would take with me. Now I have a phone. It's so wonderful.
Yeah, and well, how can we live without our phones now? It's strange how it's just become like, I mean, for me, it's if I don't have my phone with me, I almost have a panic attack. Like, it's like this is the
Right.
other part of my hand, Like, it's so
Right.
weird because it's your little computer. It's everything that matters. It's everything that you have in this world, and
You could write on it.
and instant access to Google Drive, all my writings, like everything.
Right.
So yeah,
Everything.
it's so weird, and just to think that we existed not too long ago without a cell phone.
Without.
We had
Uh,
to actually just stop and
I
go to a payphone or
graduated
ask for
college in
directions.
I graduated college in 2005. And I mean, I was a non-traditional student. I was in the Army, so I was a little bit older. I was like
Ah,
28 years old, but they had flip phones. I mean, they were barely coming to the point where
yeah,
things had cameras on them. It was like, and
right.
then fast forward 2 or 3 years, and people have iPhones. I mean, what a
I
leap in
adapted pretty
technology!
quick to it. Yeah, I mean, I was very happy because, first of all, writing by hand and stuff, I have the worst handwriting,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I just I was so happy to have a computer
Right.
and to have that ability to do everything like that, and to keep everything now like Google Drive. You don't have to worry about if something gets lost or eaten by an animal or
I can build my own computers. And back in the
my
day,
cat
where
ate my
computers
novel.
were prohibitive as far as price goes. I mean, you couldn't get your hands on them. What was an Apple back in the 80s?
What,
Like
computers?
2000? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, we saw well, my generation anyway, Atari and all the little
Oh, yeah.
game consoles and,
Atari,
Pac-Man,
that's what I had. You just made me realize I did have a lot of computers growing up. They were just game consoles, Nintendo,
Right, right,
whatever.
right.
I was trying to nudge the conversation into talking about spirituality again.
Hmm.
And I just realized that you were talking about those, fat cat Georgia dudes with the guns or whatever, having
Hmm.
a awakening, a moment of clarity or whatever. But to them, they've already had their moment of clarity, right? They've already pledged their ever loving
Yeah.
eternal devotion to a god or whatever.
What they believe is clarity. Yes, yes. They are fear-based though, and they're very afraid of anything they don't understand, and it's just clinging to what they know will supposedly save them. And I understand very well what it's like to be afraid. We all have things that we're terrified of. But if I were to close my eyes to the rest of the world and say, no, homosexuality can't exist because I can't deal with it, or whatever, whatever it is that they tend to be afraid of and stay away from and condemn and all that. And I'm not saying all gun owners are like that, but you know what I'm saying. The people that want to stick to what they know because everything else scares them, and usually guns help them feel safer, and whatever that is the boogeyman to them. And of course, there's the issue of this is a very, not always, but a very man sort of thing. It's not as much prevalent with women, so there's the issue of that as well. But whatever they're using to stay safe in their minds, it's not. I don't think I could live like that. I would feel like, no, I have to know what's out in the world. I don't want to ever just close my mind and my eyes and just hide in my little realm, whatever it be. And I love anime. I could just hide in my room and just watch anime all day. you know but I have to know what's out in the world, even if it's scary or even if it's something I didn't understand before. I actually really love trying to understand people that I don't know or that I don't fully understand at first, and I try to explore and get to know people, and I actually enjoy that. So I think it's a difference between whether you want to know about this world or whether you don't. At least to me, it's very much, keeping your mind closed when you're like that.
I hear Jeff Sessions is an amazing guy to hang out with. Like he's incredible. He's incredibly
Really?
personable. Yeah.
Huh.
Like hanging out with him, you have fun, you laugh, and you have a good time.
Okay.
And you leave going, wow, no wonder he's a senator or the attorney general
He
or
doesn't
whatever he is
seem
right now.
fun, but I don't know. Maybe that's just because I have a fear of politics,
Right? I mean, you got, I think
that's my.
Republicans are towing the line, right? They have this mandate that they want to follow. They refuse to get off of the science is bad, religious is great train.
They're trying. Yeah, they're trying
Right.
really
So
hard.
the earth is fine, it'll
Yeah.
self-correct. I mean, you don't know that.
Right. Well, Trump just tried to say he wrote an executive order about, like, I don't know, something about how we all have to say the Pledge of Allegiance or God, or I don't know,
He's
something
so,
like that.
I think
And
he's
it's
an
like
evil genius, honestly. I think everything he's doing is ultimately to make him richer
oh,
and
of course.
to, I mean, it has nothing to do with politics. I mean, he wears that Republican
Right.
thing because they
Oh, of
gave it to
course.
him to wear. Oh,
Of
you
course.
want me to
Um,
pitch for your team? Sure. I'm gonna give my kids
yeah.
all the home runs, but go ahead. I'll pitch.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm still in shock that he's president. But the whole thing is that, like, we do have separation of church and state, at least sort of still, supposedly. We, and the judges, the actual the federal judges keep blocking a lot of what he does, and that's really the only thing I think that we have going for us at this point. Otherwise, we could be in fascist land very easily.
I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, we've been in fascist land for a very, very long time anyway.
Well, we could be worse. Let's put it
Right.
that way.
That's true. I mean, nobody's knocking on my door trying to pull me off
Right.
to a work camp or anything like that. And I think
Not
that's
yet.
just because
No.
of automation, right? I mean, it's robots that are saving my life probably at this point. If they needed me to work slave labor or something, they probably would force me to do it. I mean, our country has no scruples. I mean, I guess what we're talking about is like how we envision the future. And you're hoping that people wake up like, damn, I'm going to stop being selfish. And I'm like, damn, that people are not going to stop being selfish. They're just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, I mean, humans are complicated people, complicated creatures.
Yeah, they're so much fun to
They are
write about, right?
selfish, but they're selfish, yes. But they actually, a lot of us, especially when we're young, have the ability to be empathic. We have the ability to love and care and be open, and it's just what we're taught, mixed with our own experiences, and what we want to be. What our choices are. And I think there's good and bad in humanity, and
How we're taught
I
to
think.
interact with the world. I mean, that's definitely most important. I mean, my children are 3, right? They're twins, boy, girl,
Mhm.
and they're in the tantrum phase, right? So I
uh,
mean, they're not empathetic. They don't realize that all they have to do is ask, or
right,
tell me
they have
why
to be
they're
taught.
upset
Yeah, yeah,
or why it's
yeah.
so important to hold on to the pillow while they go to the bathroom. I mean, they have no ability to communicate that stuff to me, and I'm desperate to hear it. So
Right.
that's my
But
daughter's very
if
similar
you
on
ask them, do they tell you if you ask?
no, they're only 3. They can't say anything. They have no ability to
They're like,
communicate that stuff.
I
They're no more
don't know.
strong anyway. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
it's about how does that even develop with these children? Because kids just want to eat, have fun, and go to sleep.
Well, when we're really when we're babies, yeah, we don't have the brain capacity to really talk or explain anything or whatever. But as we get a little older, that works a little bit better. But
No.
yeah, I'm just trying to say that when we're young, we're still open. We still have the ability to become good people, the ability to keep our hearts open, and all that. It a lot of people choose to close up and become bitter.
Well, I think we were talking about the past versus what we have now with the internet and whatever. I think having
Mm,
the access to all of this information and to be able to communicate via, Facebook and Twitter and other social media platforms is really allowed us to broaden our horizons. I don't think I'm the same person I was before the internet. With the
mm,
constant
really?
stream of new ideas that are, coming in,
Mm.
constantly being
Yeah.
able to read whatever I want about whatever subject. deep diving
That's
on
true.
Wikipedia.
I mean, we're in the information age, right? And we can, if we want to, be really aware of everything that goes on, and we can watch as other people get affected by what they're going through. But the problem is there's a lot of over information, and we're almost inundated with it. And some people, a lot of people still can just shut off. You know, this is something on the screen. Heck, they can just say it's fake news. You know, it really depends on whether they want to be someone who's affected by other people or not. So yes, it's helped, but it's not either. It's like it has and it hasn't. I don't know.
I think that's the awakening that you're talking about, honestly, in my opinion. And it's not everybody has really come to that point yet, because the internet's considered kind of a waste of time. Social media is addictive. You know, they use the horrible A word for everything that potentially is fun or usable or used every day or whatever, addictive. But yeah, when they start waking
Yeah,
up
I
and
mean,
they realize that, you know, there are no boogeymen. You don't need a gun on your hip to live your
right.
life without getting your ass kicked. And even if you are getting your ass kicked, maybe you need to just get your ass kicked. Maybe it's time for you to learn a little humility and not have to kill somebody because you aren't able to fight or something along those lines. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Because chances are,
overcompensating.
if you're going to defend your wife and kids from some kind of marauding burglar or whatever, you're probably going to end up shooting your wife and kid and doing nothing more than living the rest of
That's the
your
thing. It does more
life.
harm than good, in my opinion.
Right?
They think they can protect everything, but I mean, unless they're actually in that situation, how are they going to know? You know, and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
you said you were in the military,
Yeah. Yep.
so
I
you
know that
know
it's really hard
what
to
it's
point a
really
gun
like.
and hit what you want to fire at. I mean, it's really hard to fire a gun at a target and hit it,
Right, right.
especially in
And when
distress.
you're
I've never had
actually
to do that,
afraid,
right? I didn't go
right,
to combat. I didn't shoot at living people, but you're
right,
scared. Exactly. You're afraid. Your
right,
adrenaline's pumping,
right,
and now you're going to murder
right.
somebody? What?
But apparently teachers can do it. You know, teachers can.
That's what I
They can
want.
defend people, right? Yeah,
I
they're
want
trained
a
for that.
teacher to have a gun in a classroom with
Yeah,
30 moving targets. I
yeah.
almost shot
They're
a
trained for that,
sergeant
right?
in the head accidentally in a hole with a
Oh lordy.
rifle that I didn't even aim at him. He just accidentally
Oh
moved his
boy.
head at the right time, and I squeezed the trigger. It was like my life. Looking back, I'm like, I could have killed him. And we want to give
Yeah,
guns to
it takes
teachers. It
a
doesn't make
little
any
bit of
sense.
training.
That's
It
it.
takes a
I mean,
whole lot
it
of
takes
training
a
for
little
that
bit of
stuff.
training
Yeah.
to realize you don't want to own a gun. Too much power. I mean, that's just
Right.
dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why a human
I
being
mean,
want to have the ability to turn
and then
off their
there's
life or somebody else's
and
life
then
in
there's
that much instant.
right.
I mean, that
I
instant.
wouldn't want that. But
Me
there's
either.
levels of it too. I mean, I can kind of wrap my head around owning just a regular handgun to protect your home or whatever if you feel that's necessary, but I cannot. I'm just not able to wrap my head around the whole AR-15 or machine guns or, you know, automatic rifles and why anybody would need that unless you're actually in combat in the army, you know, fighting a war. It's just insanity to me, and
Well, and even then,
it's
soldiers fire over enemy soldiers' heads. Barely anybody ever points their weapons at anybody in a combat situation.
mm,
Nowadays, what kills more people are bombs. I mean, you don't
right,
really ever squeeze a
right,
trigger and murder somebody in combat anymore.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's the future too, unfortunately.
uh,
Right.
humanless combat scenarios, yeah, drones
Yeah, drones. Yeah.
and they're looking at
Yeah. Well,
potentially.
that way they don't have to feel anything too. You know, it's easy. You just kill people and don't have to worry about it. Don't have to feel it and don't have to think about it. And it's just clean, right?
Yeah, but it's not though. We know. I
No,
mean,
it's
we know.
not.
You go to your
Yeah.
job, you get your
Yeah.
paycheck. You know the income tax is going to that point. I mean, that direction. You're paying for those
Mm,
bombs and those bullets. You're voting for the people that aren't
yeah.
making any difference whatsoever. You know what I mean? They're going
Well,
in there. They're
yeah.
approving it. You know, let's spend Lyra's
You know,
money
but
on
unfortunately,
bullets today.
yeah, unfortunately, all we can do is vote, you know, and do our best and write books and try to influence
That's what we
as
can do,
much as we
actually.
can.
Because we can return
Yes.
back to the conversation about spirituality and we can get distracted very easily about things that we don't really have any control over. What we do have
Right.
control over is what the artistry.
And honestly, that's where I feel most powerful. That's where I feel my passion, and it's just why I love being a writer. It's ultimately fulfilling to not write utopians or write perfect worlds, but to write not only what I feel about life and to get those feelings out, but also just have some kind of say in what I believe in this world, and try my best to hopefully inspire others in whatever way I can, and make them feel something and hopefully give them some kind of hope.
Well, it's interesting that you're with the indie fabs, because as far as
Mhm.
the relationship that, not the relationship, but the conversation that I've had with those, to have 3 ladies on, or was it 4? Are you the 5th or the 4th?
I don't know, who else did you have besides
Oh
Aaliyah?
man, you're gonna put me on the spot. Um,
Okay, here's the indie fabs for anyone who doesn't know: Aaliyah Del Rey, Renee Gauthier,
I've not talked to her.
JB Richards,
Okay.
Ava Pascal,
Yes.
and Joanne Van Leerdam. So which
No,
ones you have?
only 3. I think only 3. I might have talked to the last one, but I'm
Okay.
not sure. But I mean, it's a really, I
There's
mean,
6 of us.
there's 6 altogether. All right, so you might be my
Yes.
3rd one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
Okay.
interesting to me that, you're able to find people over the internet to
It was
work
a
with,
miracle. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, kind of a very rare thing. I mean, the indie community is really awesome. Like most indie authors want to help each other, and they reach out and they share each other's news, and they talk to each other and give each other advice. And there's plenty of awesome indie authors. However, to actually bond closely with what I have 5 other really wonderful fab author friends, it's a miracle, really. It doesn't really happen. I mean, I haven't seen too many people that have like a team like this. I think the indie fabs are really, really rare from what I can tell. And it was just yeah, kind of a chance fated thing. We all, well, no, sorry, 4 of us met through a fellow author who was doing like sort of just an indie author day spotlight, and we just got thrown in together on that, and that sort of made us aware of each other. And then we all ended up doing this indie author day event. It was like a Facebook event, like a takeover, that Renee and Joanne were moderating that. And I don't know, we all just hit it off. And it just happened. And, now it's been like, what, 2 years? And we've been like talking every day. We check every day how each other are, both as people and as authors. We newsletter swap, we give each other ideas. We're just always there for each other. And it's just kind of a miracle.
Has it helped the writing, or has it helped the marketing, or have you
Definitely
seen
marketing. I had no clue. I had no clue before knowing these ladies what I was doing. Shiva was out. The first book was out for like a year, and I had no clue how to market that thing. So I was kind of late to it. But yeah, we helped each other with knowing it. I think Aaliyah was also kind of clueless in the beginning, but through each other. And Renee is really, 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 really smart, really aware of marketing. She's really good at it. I'd rather just sit and write forever. And if I didn't have to do marketing and ads and stuff, I actually did that all day today through groups and newsletters and stuff, because I had, for May the 4th, I had a big sale going for the Shiva books. They're all 99 cents today. And all the Shiva shorts too were all free. And then, you have to have a good graphic with it, and you have to put it in certain groups. And I didn't really have a lot of money to do ads and stuff. So I was just social mediaing like crazy on Twitter and everywhere. And and the newsletter and all that stuff. And yeah, it's a big headache. I hate that part of being an indie.
Yeah, I don't like marketing at all. I'm not very good.
That's horrible. Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable doing it. I have no clue how to do it, honestly. You know,
I didn't know how, but I learned. And a lot of that does have to do with the Fabs helping, and also just other indie authors helping. And on groups, there's writers groups and stuff. And it was a slow learning process for me. I don't like doing it. It's horrible. I'm not good at it. But at the
walk me
same
through
time, you have
what
to.
marketing means to you in the indie fabs.
What it means to me, it means getting someone to notice my book.
Well, how do you, what efforts do you do to do that?
Okay, well, for example, luckily my other half, my husband Timothy, who is also a writer and musician, he has a sci-fi book out too.
Oh, cool.
But luckily he's really good at graphics. He did all my Shiva covers, and he does covers, and he does, like blurbs and blurb ads, and So if I don't know, I would like shoot it over to you and show you the ad I did. But it was a really cool ad. You know, it said May the fourth be with you, and 4 books for $4, and it had like this really cool box set looking thing of all the books, and you have to have like an ad like that, and I posted it all over the groups that are open to those kind of things, sci-fi groups, and whether it's on Facebook or elsewhere, and then of course I did a newsletter to all the people that have signed up on my mailing list, and the Fabs also. I think Renee put it in hers, and then other people have just been sharing it out throughout the day for me. And I had a link to the books. And then I Twittered and all that stuff. And it's better when you can actually purchase ads. But I was just tapped out and I couldn't. So there's a place called Book Barbarian. I've heard is really awesome, and it's like about $40, I think. And they promote your book and your sale, and you can get sometimes good exposure from that. There's other places that will do it. And there's online magazines that sometimes I'm a part of as well. It's just a matter of keeping your eye open. It's like I'm constantly having to keep aware of what is available to me, whether it be on Facebook or anywhere else. So it's kind of exhausting.
Yeah, you really
But
don't
it's
know what
part
you're
of
going
being
to
an
find, do
indie.
you?
Yeah.
Just put yourself out there, talk to people, and
Yeah. Yeah,
you
and
don't know
I'm an
what you
introvert,
read.
so it's not easy. Introvert by nature.
We make
But
the
you got to do what you
best.
got to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That we make the best people that got to do what you got to do. For some reason, we can just
Yeah.
pull it together and do it and turn it off, and we're sane. I don't know. I think extroverts who have to keep it on all the time, just eventually their brains wear out.
Maybe.
Or
I
we're
don't
all
know.
just introverts pretending. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know too many extroverts. I don't know. I think I surround myself with mostly introverts because I understand them.
That's my point. I mean, the elusive extrovert, where are they? Like Bigfoot, they're all
I
hanging
think
out in
they
like the
exist.
Pacific Northwest.
Nah, they're like Bigfoot. I don't know. Whoever listens to this, if you're an extrovert, please say so. Let us
I
know.
am an
Tell us what
extrovert.
your life
They're
is
not on
like.
the
Are you
internet.
real?
They're out enjoying their lives, right? They're at the
Oh
beach
my
drinking
God, really? No,
cocktails.
no, Brian, everyone's on the internet. Everyone.
Not extroverts.
Even Bigfoot.
Yeah,
He's
because
sitting around. He's got a laptop
he's got nothing better to
in
do.
the forest.
You know what we need? We need some in the flood.
In the forest.
Yes. What we need is some really good Bigfoot fiction. Somebody needs to write like the best.
There probably is.
Well, I've never heard
If
of
you
it,
really
so
look. I don't know.
Cracks the New York Times bestselling list. The first
You should write
Bigfoot
it.
book. I got too many
You should
things on
write
my
it.
plate. Is that gonna happen?
Do it.
I would actually. I have a title for it and everything.
Oh, okay. See,
it's already in my.
You've got the Bigfoot in the door.
Yeah, it's happening. I'm gonna make it happen.
Would he be like a superhero?
No. Oh my.
No.
There was a short story I read in college called "Bigfoot Stole My Wife" or something along those lines. Have you heard that? Bigfoot stole my wife.
Baby.
It actually does
Wait,
work
was
out.
that pornography?
No,
was it X-rated?
It was not.
It was
Bigfoot
erotic
stole
fiction.
my wife. It wasn't. There was nothing going on in it. Bigfoot Stole My Wife by Ron Carlson. I guess
don't write that.
Famous. Don't write that one, but I highly recommend it. Oh, maybe that's not the right one. It doesn't matter. So,
well,
Shiva number 4. What are we on right now? Shiva is being published soon.
4 is the last one. 4 is the last one. They're all done. They're all good. They're all done.
Okay.
Boom.
And what can we expect from you going forward?
Well, yeah, the next thing I'm planning to do after a month of just letting my brain rest, because I just finished The Artist. That came out like April 18th. So letting my brain rest from that. And then,
by the way, the cover on that is really, really awesome. What's the deal with your illustrator? Did they do that cover?
Is actually, that cover was actually done by Jennifer Varon. She is my best friend and a great artist. So if anybody wants to look up her art, she's amazing. I actually asked her to do that cover like 7 years ago. And she did it. And I was like, oh, this is great. But I took 7 years to finish the damn thing. But yeah, she's amazing. She also did the cover for the Rainbow Serpent.
I had your Amazon page open and now I cannot find it. I'm trying to find. Oh, you hear my kids? They're right now fighting over
Dinosaur?
something. No, that's my daughter.
2 dinosaurs.
No, yeah, she actually goes by Peppa Pig. She calls
What does
my
she go
wife
with?
Peppa Pig. Do you know it?
Oh,
It's a cartoon.
no,
It's about
no.
this pig family. There's Peppa Pig,
What?
and then there's the brother pig, and then Mama Pig and Daddy Pig. So
Oh,
I
are
have
you
been
Daddy Pig? Okay.
I am Daddy Pig all day long. I am Daddy
Oh,
Pig.
oink oink.
Oink oink. It was
That's
actually the
adorable.
cutest thing. When she discovered Peppa Pig, I would say Peppa Pig, and she would go. It was the
I
cutest.
don't have kids, but if I had kids, I'd be like, no, you're watching Sailor Moon. You're watching anime. there's,
Oh,
there's no pigs for you. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know anything about anime.
My
Robert Jewett.
rules.
The only anime I've ever seen
Really?
is Brave of Fireflies. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a lot out there, so I don't know. I don't know where to recommend you first. Although my favorite is Yona of the Dawn. It's like an epic historical fiction, kind of political intrigue, but there's dragons, and they're like dragon shifter guys, and I just love it beyond belief. But there's so much out there.
I do another podcast on various topics in speculative fiction.
Hmm.
Usually it's an author or, genre or whatever. I would love to have a discussion with you about anime. Maybe you can broaden
Okay,
my
I'll make a
ideas of what it
list,
is.
and we'll just talk anime. I could do that probably all night. It's very sad.
Well, I aim for an hour.
Okay, okay. Well, I think we're about an hour in here, so
Yeah, we are.
um,
I am finishing up with my final 3 questions, unless there was something that you
yes.
wanted to mention that I neglected to bring up.
No, go for it. Hit me.
All right. Well, the first question is, man, I was kind of blown away when I saw your Amazon page. It's just filled with novels. I mean, obviously you have a fantastic work
Aw,
ethic.
thank you.
What would you tell somebody that came to you for advice? Wants to write, wants to produce content, artistry, do their thing, but are having a hard
What
time.
would they be like a person who's never written a novel before, or someone who's written but
I mean,
because if they've never, or if they're just starting and they've never actually, if they haven't actually finished the book and they're just starting, I would say when you get to that point where you want to cry and you want to give up, don't. When you want to tell yourself you're not good enough, or you're going to tell yourself you can't do this or whatever, don't listen to that voice and just keep going. Plow through it. It's kind of like the marathon runner who hits the wall. You have to
yeah,
get past that wall.
it's always been my
And
metaphor for writing a novel is running a marathon. And after I
you're
read my
right,
first one, doing the second
right.
one was a lot easier. It was like,
Yeah,
wow, okay, I can do this. I know I can do it. I
right,
did it once. And
right. I mean, I was slightly insecure with the second one, but not nearly like the first one. And you just keep going. You keep going. You don't give up. That's kind of
yeah,
an ethic, a work ethic I have for everything, but especially writing novels. Don't tell yourself you can't, and don't tell yourself that it's crap. You can always edit later.
yeah. Just get it on paper, edit
Just keep
later.
going.
Perfect. I
Right,
want to
right.
keep going. Keep going.
That's
Finish
the
it.
first thing I'd say. As far as being an indie author, don't expect it to be easy. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, but it is worth it because, and this is the reason I did it, and I think a lot of indie authors, as opposed to going to traditional publishers and agents and all that, you have immediate sense of that this is yours. You've done this. There's an accomplishment feeling, and also all the control you have. You can make it exactly the way you want to. I could have Juniper do my covers because I loved her art, and nobody can tell me not to, and you can make it the way you want to. So being an indie author is hard, especially with marketing. It's all on you. But even if you had a small press, it'll all be on you. So it is hard to be a small indie author, but you have all that control and freedom, and it's worth it.
What I think you have going for you with the Fab Five is something that I think you also get with a small
Six.
press, or yeah, the Fab Six at this point. It's gonna be Fab Seven before you know it. You guys are gonna be
It
huge.
hasn't been, but never know.
But I mean, you have to have those voices kind of telling you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. kind of guiding you along and helping you out?
We don't tell each other that. We never tell each other what we're doing wrong, or no, you can't do that, or especially not in writing. We're all very rah 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 with each other. You know, we even have like this thing where we huzzah at each other. I blame Jeannie for that one. But we're very supportive of each other no matter what. But we do give helpful hints to each other. Well, hey, there's an event going on right now. Do you guys want to be a part of this? Do you want to sign up to this? Or hey, there's this happening. Or we let each other know when there's things happening. And the indie author community does that for each other already, but the Fabs do it like 10 times more for each other and for other people too. For example, Jeannie has a review project where she will just do reviews for people who have under 15 reviews. They don't have to pay her, they don't have to do anything. She does it just because she wants to, and if she likes the book enough, she'll say list your book, and then they do, and then if it's up her alley, she does that for people. She loves reading and reading and reviewing for people, so that's sort of her free service that she does, and we all, in whatever way we can, help the community as much as we can. That's part of what being a fab is, you know. But helping each other, definitely. We don't tell each other what isn't working so much. We just tell each other what could work better.
What's the name of Jeannie's review service?
Okay. It's on her website, which is she's going through a website change, but it's the Yeshua and Miri novel series website. And it's on Facebook. You just have to look her up, but it's Indies Helping Indies Indies Helping Indies Author Review Project or something like that. I'm probably getting it wrong. But she's just amazing, and such a good-hearted person, and loves. She's kind of the heart, the kind of the backbone of the Fabs, I think, because she just gives out so much.
Oh, are you still there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. You kind of stopped so suddenly. I thought maybe you got dropped.
Yeah, but no, I mean we're all on the same wavelength. But Jeannie really, I mean, she impresses the hell out of me. And we all do things to help as much as we can. But yeah, she's kind of, I think, the heart of the Fabs.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
huzzah, Jeannie.
Huzzah. So the second question would be, what are you reading? What's on
I'm
your night
actually
table?
reading Jeannie's book. I'm reading the Mariamne the Magdala, which is her first book in the Yeshua Miri series. It's a biblical fiction. It's basically the life and times of a young Jesus, Yeshua. I'm not really big into biblical fiction, even though I did write The Rainbow Serpent, but that's more along the lines of kind of really out there, loose retelling of the Garden of Eden. But hers is kind of her own version as well, and it's kind of a love story between Jesus and Mary. It's very, very detailed. She's kind of a historian, and she actually has years of experience in that. So she studied, you know, ancient Hebrew culture, and she studied the times, and it's very detailed. It's a long book though, so in between writing, I've been reading it off and on. But I have so much on my to be read list. All the Fabs, all their books. I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. I just have so much that I want to read by so many indie authors. It's unreal.
That's fantastic. Her book sounds amazing. I never really considered biblical fiction. I remember these books called Joshua when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if you're familiar with them, about a guy who kind of floats around from town to town. This is as close as I got to biblical fiction, I guess. I don't know.
I think the closest I got before, um, not counting Siddhartha, was Illusions by Bach. And, you know, that's a great book, but it's not really religious, but it has sort of this slight overtones. But I never, you know, biblical fiction was not totally my thing, but she writes it very engrossing and historical, kind of that edge to it.
I mean, you're definitely getting yourself into a specific audience, I would imagine. Or are you working against
Yeah,
that
well, you know,
audience?
are you talking about Jeannie or me?
No,
with,
Jeannie.
with with Jeannie, you know, the thing is though, she writes biblical fiction, but she loves other stuff. She in her in the Fabs anthology, the fairy tale, Once Upon a Fabulous Time, she wrote a short story about a dragon shifter and an angel. So So there you are. She can branch out. It was kind of fantasy. So, who knows what she'll be able to do. I think all of us like the idea of changing genres. Aaliyah kind of sticks to her paranormal romance, but yeah, I mean, and Eva does mostly women's fiction. But for me, I just would get bored if I just stuck in one genre. I love doing different things, and I just did the historical romance book, The Artist, and that was new and fun and totally different from anything else I've done before.
That's what I like about writing is there are no walls. I mean, you can go anywhere you want, write about anything you
Yes,
want. You can have anything
yes,
happen that you want. It's just a really great medium to play with.
yeah,
My final question for you, and man, I really, really appreciate you being willing to come on the show and talk to me today.
no
Um, I,
problem.
I want people to know where to find you. Where on the World Wide Web is the best place for people to do that?
You can find me everywhere. You can find me at
You're in the
lyrashanti.com.
wind.
I am. I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook all over the place, Lyra Shanti. Twitter, Lyra Shanti. Um, that's LYRASHANTI. And yeah, I had the name Lyra before, before the Dark Materials books. um, that's my actual name.
You didn't change your
Um,
name after the books came out.
no, no, that's not a fake name. It's my actual name.
Would I be
But
wrong
yeah,
to
I'm
think it's
everywhere.
Irish? Shanti?
No, no. Shanti is actually, I believe it is a Hindu or Indian thing. It means peace.
Oh,
My mom
okay.
was a hippie. That's all I'm gonna say. So,
Not too
so
bad.
yeah.
And again, I thoroughly appreciated you being willing to come on the show.
All right. Thank you so much, Bryan. It's been fun.